Welcome to another edition of the Five Star Zone. Rico Beard, Harold Shelton joining us. Harold from the BTN Network, Senior Research Manager. And Harold, we've now capped off the college hoop season. Kind of anticlimactic, okay? In a season that we all thought, okay, this is going to be either Duke or Auburn. It was neither. Both made it to the Final Four. Both lost in disappointing styles. Both had leads. Auburn, I think, 8-point lead in halftime. Duke let Houston go on, a 9-1 run in like the final 30 seconds of the game. It was something ridiculous. In the end, we get Florida, Houston. Houston brings the defense. Florida wins the national title. Houston had the lead, folks. To put in perspective, I got the research manager here if I got the numbers wrong. Houston had the lead for 38 minutes and 56 seconds. Florida only had the lead, folks. Florida only had the lead for a minute and 4 seconds, but that was the right minute and 4 seconds. And now they are the national champions. First one since Billy Donovan did it. Shout out to the Florida Gators, 64-63 in a game where defense was king. Harold, I thought Houston was just going to smother them. It was Houston's type of game. They kept them below 80. They weren't running up and down the court. What happened?
I thought Houston should have been up a lot more early. The fact that they were only up 3 at the half when Clayton was held scoreless. Like you said, they had it kind of the way that they wanted it. I think it was 31-28 at the half, and you're still only up 3. And you've seen throughout the entire tournament, Florida's been a second half team. They've been a comeback team. You saw it against UConn. You saw it against Texas Tech. You saw it against Auburn. And it was only a matter of time before Clayton got going. It was only a matter of time before that second half Florida Gators team started to take over. And even though Houston out to 12, 2 threes, boom, boom, Florida cuts it right back to 6. And then it was game on after that. And I'll give Florida a lot of credit because they've been able to win in a variety of ways. They don't mind scoring 100, and clearly they can win scoring 65 against a team as physical and as gritty as Houston is. And I thought it was fitting that the game ended with Florida being the ones diving on the floor for a loose ball and getting it as time runs out, because that's usually a Houston staple.
Yeah, I'm watching this game, and the whole time I'm thinking, okay, Kelvin Sampson's about to go out there. He's going to be representing all the old school coaches. And you know what? I don't care about all this NIL and portal business. I still know what I'm doing. And he did, but in the end, look, when they played Duke, I forgot the guy who did the old playground move, but slapped the ball out the guy's hand trying to inbounce the ball. It got to Tech. I thought that was the end of Houston, but they overcame that. For Houston to have 2 of the worst possessions in the last 2 times, they're down 1, and was a Sharp dribbled it off his foot, off his ankle, off his knee, and then they're down 2, and I'm thinking to myself, you know what? Honestly, your best offense was putting the basket up and getting a rebound. That's your best offense. You're not going to make the shot because Lord knows they thought they could hit threes. They were shooting threes the way Illinois does it. Like, has anybody told them they're not good at this? They didn't get a shot off. Not one. Sharp gets it, goes up in the air, gets and lets Clayton run out at him and punked him. He really punked him. And he just had to drop the ball. It was like, I made a big mistake. It almost like he would have been better off just picking up the ball, getting a turnover, and fouling, and maybe giving them, hoping that they miss one and they would have had something. But the ball is just bouncing. It was just like, game's over. If you're Florida, you don't apologize. But it to me, heck, even when Duke missed that, when Duke and Butler played and Butler missed the half-court shot, at least that had more juice to it than this. Now that the season is over, let's just kind of recap this season.
So Yeah, it felt very anticlimactic. Like, wait, really? That's how it ends? Like, you had, guys going back and forth and dudes making plays, and Crier gets a great tip in, you getting Clayton and ones, and it's just kind of it just felt meh at the end. I don't mind going for a 3 in the win there. He and Crier have been their best 2 shooters all year. And as a team, they actually shoot 39% from 3, but they didn't have it that night. I think Sampson said there was time for Sharp to pump fake and have Clayton go by and then shoot it. But you're right. I was very, very shocked that they didn't go early, because their best offense was offensive rebound and a second chance. So at least if you get it on the rim, you give yourself a chance with those big fellas down there to get an offensive rebound, and it can either be another kick out or you can go straight back up.
Maybe even get an and one.
Right, or get an and one. And we saw it in the Duke game. They were down 3. They wound up getting a putback dunk to cut it to 1, which then led to all of the stuff at the end. So I was really, really surprised that they couldn't get a shot up. But I'll give Florida a lot of credit, because they blitzed Crier. They blitzed Uzan, the other guard, and it looked like they were trying to set up a screen for Sharp to catch it. And then Clayton sprints out, great contest. He knows he's going to get it blocked, and the end happened the way it happened. But I give Florida a lot of credit on the defensive end there.
So we have 4 number 1 seeds in the Final Four. Really had 3 good games in all. I mean, for everybody that complained and whined, we didn't have the upsets and the Cinderellas. You only want the Cinderellas in the first weekend, and that's only to make you feel smart. I'm sorry, I'll say it. You don't really want Cinderellas, because I harken back to a couple years ago when you had all Cinderellas in UConn. And nobody watched that. I mean, if you're a basketball junkie and nerd, yes. No one cared about San Diego State. No one cared about Florida, FAU. No one cared about any of those teams. You were just like, well, I guess UConn just going to get the title. I mean, as soon as you saw the Final Four, it was UConn. If you don't win this, shame on you. That's kind of one of them Final Fours that I got. It's like I would love for Izzo to go to, like, we going to gift wrap you your second title. All you got to do is beat these 3 bums.
Yep.
Instead, we actually had, if you think about it, you really had some good games from the Elite 8 until the Final Four, and that came with teams. Like I said it last week. We love to bash officials and the tournament selection committee. The selection committee got it right, man. They gave you good matchups, and they even got the seedings right where, dang, both games in the semifinal, you didn't know who was going to win until the very end. In the championship game, you didn't know who was going to win. So I like that. I think that I got a feeling that this is going to be more of an anomaly and not the norm. I don't think you're going to see 4 number 1 seeds in the tournament. I don't think you're going to get everything perfectly done. So for everybody out there panicking that, this is the end of basketball, the portal and all of that, it's not. There's different ways of doing this, and we could get into this. There's so many different ways of building a team now. Portal opened up, and it's funny. They did One Shining Moment. And I'm watching One Shining Moment, and the reality kicked it in, because I'm sad. I love that. I stayed up just to watch that.
Yeah.
I take a beating for it. I don't care. So the second time I watched it, it kicked in and was like, It's funny, because even as the tournament ended, they showed Michigan's Trey Donaldson, and I'm like, he's not even a Michigan Wolverine anymore.
Yep.
He's Miami Hurricane. It's like the body ain't even cold yet, and it's like you almost want to do the re-edit and have somebody put a Hurricane uniform on him. But yeah, he's down. The portal opened up, and I think it opens up way too much. But now you got everything going on. I think some of the strategy when it comes to the portal is you have teams that, I think Indiana and Illinois had to start at 0, and they just have to build. Now Indiana, they're bringing in the coach from, was it Drake? No, that's
West Virginia. He was at Drake, then went to West Virginia for a year.
So they're bringing him in. He's bringing in some of the people from West Virginia, but you're paying this exorbitant amount of money to bring in players, and then you have other teams who they already kind of got a core, and now you just need a few players. I don't know if it's a right way or wrong way to hit the portal. It's head scratching because I see the amount of money that is allegedly getting put out there. And I guess one of the reasons why a lot of kids want to get this thing done now, from what I've read, is when the schools have to pay them, the schools have to disclose how much they're paying them. So if you want that secret deal, you got to make your deal now before that new law kicks in with the schools.
Yeah, I know that the revenue sharing, I guess they're still meeting about it now. And to your point, I think there was a lot of leftover money that needed to be spent before that ruling kicks in, where it's like, okay, you get X amount allotted to you, and this is the money you have to spend legally to get some of these players. But if you still have $2, $3, $4, $5 million in the bank, whatever it is, it's like, all right, we got to spend this. We got to get rid of this because we're not going to be able to use it. And so I do feel like a lot of kids right now are taking what they can get. And in certain cases, if they know I'm not going to be a pro, this is my chance at a payday, get myself set up on the right track for life going forward, I can't be too mad at it. Right. If people are leaving because it's not a money situation, then I feel like it might be a little short-sighted, but it's hard to tell, what kids truly want these days.
So when you look at the portal and you look at the Big Ten, I guess, which team so far do you think has gotten the biggest advantage in the portal?
Well, Michigan's certainly not afraid to spend, as we've seen. They've already picked up 3 guys. Now, I don't know if all 3 will make it to campus, but we saw them pick up the North Carolina point guard. I think for the way Dusty May wants to play, a pass-first guy who is fast, can get downhill, can certainly help them. He does turn it over a bit, but
I was laughing when that happened because I was like, well, he will fit this offense well.
Yeah, exactly.
He was second in the ACC turnovers.
Yeah. So, yeah. And I know a lot of that too is Carolina plays really fast, so there's more opportunities to turn over. But if Michigan's going to play fast as well, like you might wind up seeing something similar there. Love the Morez Johnson pickup for Michigan. I thought he was one of Illinois' better players before he hurt his wrist in that Michigan State game. Complete animal on the glass. I did think it was a little interesting he went there because I know Illinois and Michigan have had some beef over these last few years. And so I know Illinois fans weren't too happy with him going to Ann Arbor. And then I hear and read just kind of they didn't want Morez to be like Kofi Cockburn, which I thought was weird considering he was a 2-time All-American. I'm kind of like, what's wrong with that?
Yeah.
But I guess they don't want him to just be a post player. He wants to do more than that. We'll see if Dusty May kind of allows him to do that. And then they picked up the UAB transfer, but I don't know if he's actually going to be in Ann Arbor because he wants to test the draft process. And if he's a first round pick and kind of gets a guarantee, I don't think he winds up going to Michigan.
Luxembourg. Yeah,
I think he winds up staying in the draft if he, kills it at the combine and all that stuff. So on paper right now, I think Michigan's done a really good job. I thought Purdue had a sneaky good pickup getting the South Dakota State Center to go back with the core that they already have. I think they could probably be the preseason favorite in the conference.
Yeah, I didn't realize Braden Smith was coming back, and Braden Smith was getting offers. Like there was rumors like Kentucky was ready to throw him the bag.
I heard.
I was like, wait, I guess because he looks old. Is that the end thing? I remember it used to be you had to get a bunch of ones and dones. Now is it you got to get a bunch of 23, 24, and 25-year-olds?
Yeah, I think it is. And you hear a lot of these coaches now that are like, you know what, I'm not even going to worry about high school recruiting. Like, we need to get old. I'm just going to look at the portal and supplement my guys that way. I know Rick Pitino was heavy on that and very vocal about that for St. John's, just kind of saying, going forward, I need a bunch of guys with experience, older guys, tougher guys to play the way that we want to play. I don't have time to wait and get a freshman who needs to develop a year or two, and then he might not even be here by the time we're ready to go. So I'm at this point, use the portal the way that it's set up. Like, even if it's just for a year, let me use him. All right, he's gone. Let me find another guy, try to use him. It's almost like JUCO basketball at this point.
It really is. I was having a conversation this morning, and I think like the MAC and Horizons and leagues like that actually should benefit, because if I'm a kid, you know what? If I'm a coach, hey, son, just come here, ball out, and I'll be the man making the phone call to get you to transfer out of here. I'm going to help you I know you're not going to graduate from here. I'm only going to have you for a year if we do this right, and maybe we go together. But that's what I see it as. This would help out the smaller schools. And I look at a team like Florida, and everybody, it seemed like, came from a smaller school. These were all cats that got passed over in the high school recruiting. They had to go someplace else, hone their skills. And now you see it. I mean, it worked out for Florida. It got Houston to where they are. Maybe that's just the way to go.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, like you said, Walter Clayton was from Iona. You had Will Richard was from Belmont, and, Elijah Martin was the FAU guy. So you're talking about you're starting 3 guards all coming from mid-major schools who were overlooked. Certainly were able to develop, and shout out to those programs that they were at so they can get to this point. But, fit still has to matter, just because, I mean, we saw it with Kansas. Like, okay, we got to go get AJ Storr. And that
who's back in the portal, by the way.
He's back in the portal.
For the 8th time. He went to 4 different high schools. He's about to go to 4 different colleges, folks. That is how you abuse the portal, but go ahead.
Exactly. And, we saw Indiana. They tried to just get a bunch of dudes from bigger schools, and the fits weren't there. And Miles Rice is already on the move again. Like, he was at Indiana for a year. Now he's going to Maryland with Buzz Williams. And so, I feel like if you try to find smaller school guys that could play and kind of supplement your roster and, to kind of go with the core that you already have, I think that's probably the better way to go. I mean, if you have a chance of getting, a marquee transfer who also fits with what you want to do, then sure, like, I got no problem with that. But if you want to have a team full of those, you're getting different agendas from everybody. Right. I'm the man. I'm trying to get to the league. Well, I'm trying to get to the league too. Like, how do you make all of that work?
See, I've often said that's been Duke's biggest downfall. When I look at this year's team and I look at that team in 19, it was filled with pros. But in the end, they couldn't get it done. It was like, okay, final minute of the game, who gets the ball?
Yep. And in 2019, it should have been Zion, but it was RJ Barrett.
Yeah. So I look the same. It's like, when Flag got he got the ball, he wasn't giving it up. He was going to shoot the shot. He was not going to look for the open guy, the better shot. He had to be the hero. So it's just kind of funny how the game has evolved, because it used to be you needed seniors and then you needed the one and dones. And now it looks like you need the older transfer players in order to really get someplace and go somewhere in this. Now, we talked a little bit about it last week, but when Kevin Willard may be a genius, I don't like how he left Maryland. But going to Villanova, he won't have to share money. Villanova doesn't have a football program. He gets all the money to rebuild that basketball program, whereas I'm going to be interested to see how, where the money comes from. Will the money dry up when all of a sudden the schools have to start paying them? I don't know. Will they go? Did you just elevate the ways it used to be where people are just getting paid under the table again? You can give them the school money, but go see Booster so-and-so, and he'll take care of you. Go cut his grass for $1 million, and he'll balance out the rest. I don't know where this thing is going, but I just know that I'm looking at it, and I know a lot of people are like, well, because a lot of people ask me, well, when's Michigan State going to do anything? And I'm like, I don't know. Izzo was at the baseball game. They showed him on the phone, and, it was rumor, hey, he's talking to recruits. I don't know what he's doing, but the thing is because he got to the Elite Eight and he did it his way, he's kind of built in a little bit of equity. We got to wait and see. And I know that's not thrilling when it comes to a podcast to wait and see. You want this fiery opinion, but I don't know. I think that when it comes to this, and we talked about this before we did the taping, the portal has turned into almost like the NBA free agency, where there's the opening round where people get ridiculous amount of money. The fact that Xavier Booker reportedly is getting a little under $2 million to go to UCLA. And I tell people, okay, you want Tom Izzo to jump in there, but do you want him to get somebody else's Xavier Booker and overpay for him? I mean, think about last year when Vandy goes out and gets A.J. Hogarth, and they have to be thinking, I thought you were going to be better than this. You didn't even start at the end of the year. I think the second wave is where a team like Michigan State, who has, look, it looks like they're going to keep Holloman. Holloman went to the portal. For a second, it looked like maybe he was going to be coming back, but then he put out a list of teams that he's going to be visiting. I thought for a second they were negotiating with him to get him to come back to maybe reconsider. But you still got a core of Fears, Kohler, Cohen Carr. You got one of the freshman coming in. I think it's either Ward or Scott. I think is going to be starting. I forgot which. The bigger of
Ward.
The bigger of the two.
Yeah,
if it's Ward probably going to get in there. You got
Cooper's back.
You got Cooper's back. You got the kid. Why am I drawing a blank? Kurtang and the kid who redshirted that they're hoping for a lot for.
Oh yeah, McCullough.
But you got a core. So if your Tom Izzo, in my opinion, there's over 2,000 kids and counting in the portal, you got to bring in 3 guys. And you still the other thing that I would be watching out for, Harold, remember they took the trip overseas to Spain? I wonder if they saw anybody while they were on that trip that maybe they want to say, hey, let's see if we can convince this person to come back, get that international player with a little bit more experience, a little more battle ready, battle tested. I don't know when they're going to pull the trigger, but right now it seems like he's losing the offseason. But because I laugh when I see these way too early predictions for next year, I'm like, we don't know who's going to be on the team. Like, this could be a moot point in 2 weeks, let alone, 5 months from now.
Yeah, and I saw the Athletics had theirs out today, and Purdue was the number 1 team in the country in the way too early. Michigan was 5th. Michigan State was 7th. And I'm looking and I'm like, well, we don't know if Jace is coming back or not, but they had Jace as a returner. Again, way too early to know, but he's probably not staying.
I would, if Jace is going to go to the pros, if he doesn't go to the pros, I just don't see him coming back. I don't think he's coming back to Michigan State. I don't think that. I think that if he came back to college, he would probably jump into the portal.
Think so?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
Yeah, I feel like he really enjoyed his time, but I think his league or Michigan State. I
think he enjoyed his time. I just think outside influences would convince him to move on and leave.
Gotcha. Okay. And in the Michigan one, as we talked about, we don't know who is going to stay in terms of the UAB transfer. Is he going to stay or not? Is he going to go straight to the league? Like, right now, sure. If he stays and, to go with, Elliott and Morez and Kaysen, like that's certainly guys, but is that a top 5 roster? Like that seems way too early to say. And then Purdue. I
mean, maybe if Wolf comes back.
Right.
But we don't know what Wolf is going to do.
Exactly. And then I think Purdue's going to be really good. And I think Purdue would be the preseason favorite because you kind of know, like, they're locked in.
Ain't none of them going pros.
Right. Like, they're locked in. Dudes. Trey Kaufman-Ren's back. Braden Smith's back. Fletcher Lawyer's back. The big fella they picked up from South Dakota State. Like, their roster, for the most part, is pretty much set outside of maybe one other portal player that they might get. Everybody else is too much of an unknown. Guys are still making visits. Guys haven't declared for the draft yet. So, yeah, I think the way too early stuff, again, is way too early. I just don't think you should be doing that, on April 8th in this climate with the portal and you haven't even made draft declarations yet.
So, Harold, let's say you're a coach. How do you approach the portal? What would be your strategy?
I honestly like what Purdue and Michigan State have done. I do think there's something about having a culture and then supplementing that culture. We saw it with Purdue, and I know they had Zach Edey, but they went and they got a Lance Jones when it was like, okay, we need a guard. that could take some shots, that could supplement what we have. Mm-hmm. And let's go. He's not going to disrupt everything, but he's a senior guy. All right, let's get a guy like him to go with what we have. I know Michigan State was banking on that with Frankie Fiddler. It didn't quite work out the way that people thought it might in the summer, but he still filled a pretty big role toward the end of the season, and you still allowed your core to develop around him. I think the whole every year we got to go get 5, 6, 7 guys. I just don't know how sustainable that is if you're trying to win a national title.
You know what it does? It kind of reminds me back in the days of when the one and dones was all of that. And I remember, I look at Memphis, and I remember some years they were good, some years they were bad. I look at Louisville. Some years they were good, some years they were bad. I look at Kentucky. Some years, man, you nailed it. And other years, it's like, man, what did you find these for bums? Because they can't win.
Yep.
So I'm with you on that. The whole flip the roster do what Illinois does. Underwood must really love the portal. Because it's almost like he just tells his team at the end of the year, all right, everybody get the hell out. I'm starting all over again. We didn't win the title. Everybody can go. Get your last check. I got to start all over again. Because when I saw they had nobody, I was like, how did you manage to get rid of everybody? But he must really like this portal thing. It's I guess if it's me, I would mind the group of fives and Division twos and Division threes, because there's certain things that are just universal. If you can hit a shot, you can hit a shot. If you can nail a three, you can nail a three. I mean, I think Duncan Robinson was came from
D3
nowhere, like some school that I have no idea where he came from. But he hit the three. You get the three, you can hit the three. That's where I would go. Now, it would require my assistant coaches are going to have to do their homework. My assistant coaches are going to really have to come up with a list of people. Because the thing is, you get those types of people, I'm going to say, they're hungry. They want to step up. Now you get to fly on the private plane. You get to play in front of sold-out crowds. Now you get to live on a campus, and you get to be the man. You get to hear people chanting your name, wearing your jerseys. And this is your way out. If you want to take that next level, you have more exposure, because now you're getting interviewed by Fox, by ESPN, by CBS. You're sitting across from Grant Hill. You wouldn't have had that at your little school. That would be my philosophy. Not necessarily going after the guys that played at the bigger schools, because I think they're looking for a paycheck. I think I would get more people to buy in if I got them from a smaller school, because I would let them know, hey, I got a role for you. I don't need you to be the man. I need you to fill this role. Now, if you could come out there and score, and you can come out there and be like John Tanjay, who just kind of came from nowhere, I'm not going to stop you. I'm going to feed you. But if it were me, I'm looking for people who would fit my system, and you probably can get those guys cheaper. Let's be for real.
Yeah, 100%. And I think Tanjay is a great example of how recruiting rankings and transfer portal rankings can be flawed. He was the 296th ranked transfer last year. Like, there was no way there was 295 transfers that were better than him. There's no way. I mean, there might have only been 15 dudes in the entire sport that were better than him.
Last night, Houston would have used a John Tanjay.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. And so, again, to your point, he was at Colorado State, barely played in Missouri. So most of his work was at Colorado State. It's a mid-major guy taking a step up a level, but he's older. So he's already, had the college training table, weight room. He's used to all of that stuff. So then he can come up and he can just fit seamlessly. And I'm with you in terms of, like we saw with Jacoby Gillespie. He was a Belmont guy, stepped into Maryland, third team all Big Ten guy. There's a ton of examples like that. You can go to Marcus Domask from Illinois last year, who wound up being Illinois' second best player after transferring up from Missouri Valley. There's a ton of examples like that where you don't have to just gut your whole roster and get a bunch of dudes from power conferences. I mean, even Auburn this year, like Denver Jones, Janai Broome, these are Morehead State. This is FIU. This isn't, I got a dude from Alabama and I got a dude from Duke and I got a dude from, Arkansas. Like, these were all smaller school guys that made the jump, got coaching, were older, got better. And so I feel like that's the way to go. And, when it comes to Michigan State's philosophy, we saw the Fiddler thing last year in Zapawa. Like, those were very, very quiet. Those are late April, early May editions. I'm almost confident that he knows that he's got to get 3 guys. Right. I'm sure he's not just standing pat, but it's very quiet. And it was last year. I wouldn't expect to hear much of anything before they actually get a guy.
So, all right. I do want to end with a couple things. One, I really didn't pay too much attention to this new tournament that was out in Vegas where they got like the schools who didn't make the tournament. Because I was wondering, well, like, how come these schools didn't go play in the NIT? They played in this tournament in Vegas. I now understand. Yeah. You see what the winner got?
$300,000.
The winning team got $300,000. It didn't have to go to the athletic program. It went to the team. It didn't have to get split with Title IX. It went to the team. Now, granted, when you divvy that up, what is that, like 20 grand for everybody? And then you probably got to pay some of the managers and stuff too. But let's just say, round it off, everybody walks away with 20 grand. Doesn't seem like a lot, but man, it's not a bad way to go. I mean, we're not going to be the NCAA champions, but you know what? We got 20 grand in our pocket for having a pretty bad to mediocre season. If you're Nebraska, shout out Nebraska. I mean, it worked. And now I say that to say it looks like a lot of they're going to have preseason tournament like that. That I was reading that they may have a 32-team tournament where very similar winner, it's like a winner take all type of thing. And some big schools, I get what you're going to see is probably like the end of like the Maui Classic and things like that, where, you know what, we got a good enough team. Let's just take our chance playing this tournament, get some tournament experience. And if we win, fellas, y'all can get paid. You know, drinks on y'all coming back home on the plane.
Yeah, exactly. And, to your point about the 20 grand, I know they were talking to Juwan Gary about it for Nebraska. And he was saying how, like, I know my mom's got bills. Like, I'm going to take some of this money and help pay some of that. And like, you never know what some of these families are going through. And if you're a guy who's not going to the league and you might not be getting a lot of NIL, that 20 grand can help a lot. And so,
bro, that 20 grand, if somebody knocked on my door right now and handed me a check for 20 grand, I'm ending this thing like, yes, I got bills I got to pay.
Yep.
I feel you on that. But yeah, I think that's going to be a lot of the early season tournaments. When I was reading that, like, I think they're looking at having that next season.
Yeah, I know they certainly were trying to. I know they had the Vegas tournament this past year. I think it was only 8 teams. I know Rutgers
that got expanded.
Oregon was in it. But yeah, they're trying to expand it. And like you said, that might be the end of a lot of these, Maui Invitational, Battle for Atlantis. Like, you might not see those as much anymore if you get more of these big schools playing in that tournament.
Because if I read it correctly, I think Michigan's trying to get involved in that. Like, a lot of schools are going to be in there. Like, it will be basically the NCAA tournament light, the early tournament seeding, where you're going to have some top teams in there with pairings and all of that. And I'll be honest with you, early in the season, it's the best way to figure out who's going to be good and who's for real and who's pretenders. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like the Champions Classic, I'm probably not going to go away. Because I think they're locked in there. And I think that's almost a prestige type of thing where you have, with Duke and MSU and Kentucky and Kansas. So I don't think that's going in away anytime soon, but it will be interesting to see if any of those 4 teams decide that they want to play in that tournament. Because, yeah, I mean, what great motivation. I mean, if you're in the huddle, like, hey, do you want to win this $1 million? Okay. All right. On 3. Let's go.
Right. Yeah. I think the Champions Classic is early enough in the season where you can do both, because that usually starts the season off. Like, I know this year or this past season, it was very early November. That Vegas tournament was around Thanksgiving. So you still have enough time to do both in that case. So if Michigan State or Duke or Kentucky, Kansas, if any one of those 4 or all of them wanted to do it, there should be enough time in between to fit both of those in.
I'd be interested in going out there. I mean, The draw is Vegas. I mean, no, everybody wants to go out to Vegas. They know how to throw a party, and you get to figure out where you are. And if you're the players, we're gonna get paid. Like, because I was wondering, like, why was the NIT so weak?
Yeah,
like, did everybody turn? Now I realize why everybody turned it down. Everybody wanted that paycheck. So, all right. What you got for me, man? You got anything?
Yeah, I know we touched on most of it, but I thought yesterday was interesting. I read that there was no 5-star players in the title game, and Florida had no top 100 players.
Wait, hold on. I need to write this down because my co-host is big. He thinks that you got to have no 5 stars.
There was no 5-star players in the title game, and Florida didn't have one top 100 recruit.
Okay. So I said it really comes down to scouting.
Yep.
And player evaluation.
Yep.
It's like the pros. If you can find that diamond in the rough and get him, he becomes that Michael Bridges where, this guy really is good, buried on the Suns. Now he's a star.
Yep.
So, man, so no 5-star recruits across the board. Interesting. See, this is why, man. This is why. So I'm gonna miss you. We ain't got really nothing to do until the spring games, but there's no spring games. There's nobody to know anything.
Yeah, so, I know Michigan's got theirs, but I think there's only 6, maybe 7 of the 18 teams in the Big Ten that are doing it. So yeah, it's something that I liked. As
Michigan,
a fan.
Ironically enough, will have their spring game, but they'll air it a day after the portal.
Right.
Which is smart. I mean, honestly, I mean, if you really want one of these kids, I guess you could just dress up and go to the game and watch them and scout them. But I think the days of the spring game, until they just fix the problem. I'm going to say this. Portal should not be open during the season.
Agreed. Period.
Whether it's football, you got to get that extra semester. I don't care. Because you're destroying your own game. In basketball, once again, I shouldn't be seeing a kid in one shining moment in one jersey, knowing that he's already flipped and wearing a different jersey. That is not a knock on Trey Donaldson. That is just how effed up this thing is. It shouldn't be going on. In my world, the portal opens today or tomorrow.
Exactly.
You let the season play out. And on the flip side, coaches can't move. So I don't want you to, you're attacking the kids. Coaches can't move, okay? Yep. You got an empty job. Don't worry about it because everybody's going to start on April 10th. That's the first day the portal can open. That's the first day you can hire a new coach. We all know you're going to be doing stuff behind the scenes anyway. Work your magic that way. But it just bothered me that I'm like, man, this kid's not even wearing that uniform anymore.
Right.
He's a Hurricane.
That's crazy.
So yeah. But yeah, I really wish they get that done. So, all right. Well, if anything breaks, folks, we'll come back and we'll have some news. I mean, still waiting to see what's going to happen with the University of Michigan and the football stuff that's been kind of in limbo. So when that stuff breaks, Harold and I will be back. But for now, thanks for the ride. Hope you enjoyed everything. Hey, let us know if you have any suggestions. But for Harold, I'm Rico. Thanks for watching Football Hoops. We'll be back. Don't worry about it. We're just going to take a little bit of a break, but you never know. We may pop back up in your timeline with some interesting stuff. Harold, any final words?
No, I just appreciate you having me on. It's been fun to do every week. And, love talking Big Ten hoops, specifically the Michigan schools. So it's been all good. All
right. Well, that's Harold Shelton. You can see him every now and then dressed in the suits on the Big Ten Network in the background with the pink, got on the pink gaiters and all of that. He's from Detroit. You can't take Detroit from the kid. I'll just put it like that. I'm Rico Beard, guys. Thanks for watching. We'll be back when some big news breaks in this off season. But for now, thanks for watching the 5 Star Zone.